Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today is another episode of reviewing NHL teams so far, as today we got the Ottawa Senators coming up, baby. But before we get into that, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to slap that subscribe button. And if you are new or just still watching the channel, make sure to slap that like button as well. And I also do tons of live streams on Twitch. You should go check it out. I do Be a Pros, I do live or franchise modes, I do just about anything, even Call of Duty, and we just mess around and joke around on there, so go check that out. Also, today we're going to be having Perlo Wisdom join the show later on to talk about the Ottawa Senators and what they will be doing for their future of their squad. His link will be down in the description below. That was a lot of things, so let's actually finally get into the Ottawa Senators video and talk about what Pierre Dornian and Eugene Melnyk did. Now, a while ago, Melnyk said that this team is going to be a playoff team. He guarantees it, which is not the truth. I think he's just trying to fill the butts in the seats, or I don't know. Well, we can't really have people in the seats right now, but I don't know what he's trying to do. Maybe get more people to watch the Ottawa Senators games. I'm not too sure, but in a jam-packed Canadian division, this team is one of the worst teams in the Canadian division right now, but we're not going to be talking about that. Let's get into talking about the offseason for the Ottawa Senators, and we'll talk about the draft right off the get-go. I love their draft. Their draft was amazing. The way they started things off with getting Tim Stützle, which I think will be kind of like a prototype of Patrick Kane. He is that kind of prototype of Patrick Kane. He's another German guy, which I love Germans. Leon Draisaitl was great. We've seen how well Dominic Cahoon kind of is developing in the league. And we also now have Tim Stützle. Germans are really having a big uprise in the league. And Tim Stützle is a great future guy for the Ottawa Senators. And then they also get Jake Sanderson, which a lot of people were kind of angry about. But I think I know why they mainly went with Jake Sanderson, was because it's another University of North Dakota guy, which fills in a pretty good amount. Shane Pinto, he's from the University of North Dakota, playing there right now. You take a look at a guy like Jacob Bernard-Docker. He's also North Dakota. You have a decent amount of guys that are playing together right now and are getting familiar with each other, right? This is a great way of developing players, having players already build that chemistry, especially two defensemen in Sanderson and Bernard-Docker, when defensive chemistry is a huge thing in the NHL. I think because I'm a guy who loves playing defense, I'm very much into that. So when you get a really kind of link with a person as a defenseman, you just play a lot better. And I think Jake Sanderson will really come into himself. I know you could have went after Jamie Drysdale, but when you already have Erik Brannstrom on your team here in Ottawa, you really don't need to worry about going after Jamie Drysdale. Erik Brannstrom already looks like a really good defenseman for the Ottawa Senators, and he should keep on developing more and more after the great year he had in the AHL this past season. Really great, another great guy, Yaravanta. Their draft was pretty good. It was just okay, to say the least. Trades-wise, they made a couple big deals. They went after Matt Murray here, which I think was a great deal for the Ottawa Senators, only getting rid of a Gruden and a second-round pick. You're not losing too much, especially since you are already drafting so much. Matt Murray is a great player. They signed him to a $6.25 million deal for the next 4 years, which is not that bad. Not just that, he was pretty good in Pittsburgh. I know he had a bad year last year, but you really don't talk about that year. Their defense was not that great there in Pittsburgh. They were having problems with Christopher Letang. Just overall, they definitely weren't as great as a team as before. And I mean, you can see that he plays good. He does. He does play good in front of a really good damn team. And that's what they need to have there in Ottawa, which they don't yet. But I think Matt Murray, after this year, when Ottawa starts kind of building themselves up even better, Matt Murray will really start coming into himself, and I think he's going to be a great pickup for the Ottawa Senators. Eric Branson, another great defensive pickup here for the Ottawa Senators. Eric Branson, $4 million for a year. He eats up some of their cap space. Not just that, Eric Branson's a really solid defender, and Austin Watson, a nice depth piece. And especially for what you gave up, you didn't really give up too much. You gave up a couple picks for next year when you're already pretty much loaded on a bunch of seconds, so you definitely don't need to worry about it as much. Free agency signings, they got Alex Galchenyuk, which I think is a kind of a good bet. You could have a potential guy that could play up in the kind of the upper top 6. You could practically put him anywhere right now, right? If you don't like Asisimov there, you got Galchenyuk, maybe you got Stützle. You got some guys that you can kind of float around the lineup, and you could do some experiments. Maybe you can get Galchenyuk going after he's joined his 4th team in just 2-3 years now. So Galchenyuk needs to find a home, and he really needs to start playing a lot better. He was showing some good trends there in Minnesota, and I think if he gets the line time and he gets the right teammates, I think Galchenyuk will be a great fit for the Ottawa Senators. Chris Tierney, great contract, 3.5. Connor Brown, great contract, 3.6. And then the big guy, Evgeny Dadonov, he signed for 3 years at $5 million. A nice veteran piece for the Ottawa Senators, kind of not hurrying up that rebuild, but they're giving themselves a goal scorer now to add to the team, and that will help with some offense. And this team, honestly, does not look too bad. The offseason that the Ottawa Senators had as a rebuilding team, I got to give them an A-. And the reason why I'm going to give them an A- is because of the fact that I think they did really good as a rebuilding team. Yes, they could have had a better draft. They could have got a lot of better selections. Maybe you could have went after somebody else better than Jake Sanderson. Maybe you could have went after another offensive piece since you're already so loaded defensively with Chabot, Branson, and especially next year's draft, where there's a lot of good defensemen coming up in this next year's draft. So I don't know what the Ottawa Senators are really planning on doing, but they have that North Dakota thing going right now, and I think for the future of that team, it's going to work out perfectly for the Ottawa Senators. And if not, well, then I guess you got some good prospects for the future if it doesn't work out the way that you guys planned it to. But Ottawa has to kind of play by the cap, right? They got an internal cap, and developing these prospects and having that instant chemistry is going to be huge for the Ottawa Senators. But tell me, guys, what your grade is in the comment section below. I gave the team an A-. This is what their team looks like. It's a good-looking team, and I'm really excited for the future of the Ottawa Senators. And I'm excited to see them a decent amount in the Canadian division, and we'll see how well they play. But I'm going to end the video here. Well, actually, I'm not going to end the video here. We're going to send it off to me and Perlo, as me and him will be discussing more about the Ottawa Senators. So let's jump right into that. Welcome back, everyone, as we're here with the man Perlo Wisdom, as we're going to be talking about some Ottawa Senators and talking about everything about their offseason. But Perlo, how's it going there, my man?
Going good, buddy. It was a lot of fun. We just did a nice little trade piece for mine. Go check that out. We talk about trading Dumba and stuff like that. But now we're into the Ottawa Senators and their offseason. This is a very interesting team to be doing offseason stuff with.
Yeah, and his link will be down in the description below to check out all of his videos. He does a lot of the same videos I do. He does a lot of reviewing NHL teams. It's a lot of good stuff. So let's get right into the Ottawa Senators, as we're going to jump right into their draft, which I got to say was pretty stacked draft. They got Tim Stützle. They got Jake Sanderson, which a lot of people were weirded out by, but I think is a solid pick for their team. Ridley Grigg, what do you think of their draft for 2020, especially with all the draft picks they had?
I mean, Stützle, what I understand, I'll be honest, I haven't been able to see a lot of Tim Stützle. But so from certain scouts that I really trust, they believe that he's going to be like, that he's got almost Kane-like stick handling and stuff like that. If that's the case, I mean, amazing for them. I mean, they so especially if they can play center. However, most I've heard say that he's better off the wing, off the half boards and stuff like that. I don't know. But if he can play center, that's huge, because they really need a number one center so bad there. And if he can play center and be at that level, and have with a Brady Tkachuk, now you're starting to have a top line that is wicked. Just put it any other way. I mean, Brady Tkachuk is a beast, and having a Tim Stützle up there, having a guy of that kind of level, when you start hearing the word Kane, when you're looking at somebody's stick handling and skill, playing with a Tkachuk, that'll do very well for yourself. Now the Sanderson pick, I was one that was a little bit critical of this, but after thinking about it, um, I'm just going to give Ottawa the benefit of the year because they have lights out drafting defensemen and picking defensemen off of other people's teams and stuff like that. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I personally would have went with Askarov myself. If I'm a team that is not looking to be towards the cap a lot, I would like a generational goaltender, and I personally think Askarov's going to be a generational goaltender. I know the whole thing with goalies can burn you, but this goalie's not going to burn you. This guy is going to be insane. So that's personally who I would have took. We'll find out if it's down the road if that's going to be the case or not. If any other team, if most other teams besides maybe LA took Sanderson, I would have been a little bit more critical. But Ottawa has just shown to be able to look at where they pick Shabbat. They've shown to pluck and make defensemen good. So
I think the way that their plan was going for picking up those defensemen was because, like I said in the video, was North Dakota. Sanderson plays for North Dakota. Bernard Docker plays for North Dakota.
Yeah.
Shane Pinto does. You got a lot of guys that are in North Dakota that are looking really, really good. And if you have that chemistry going, it'll translate good jumping right into the NHL or the AHL.
Yes, and you did bring that up, and I forgot about that. And St. Louis showed the value of bringing in guys from they brought a whole guys like Bozak and uh, Shen and everybody. They're all from that Saskatchewan area there, and that showed the benefits of that. So yeah, that was a very good point too.
So we'll get on to the trades now for the Ottawa Senators, which they were pulling the trigger right off the get-go when we were getting into the draft day, which Matt Murray from Pittsburgh Penguins are going over to the Ottawa Senators for Jonathan Grudin and a second-round pick. How do you think of Matt Murray going to Ottawa, that trade, and then getting that huge contract extension? Will Murray have a bounce back kind of season with the Ottawa Senators, or do you think this will falter and be a really bad contract for the Ottawa Senators?
I don't know. I was leaning against this move until you actually talking to you made me flip a little bit, because Pittsburgh has had a very overratedly bad, like, how do you explain that? Most people think their defense wasn't great, but they don't really that doesn't say enough. Their defense has been bad for a while, and the young Matt Murray sort of caved. The thing that I was worried about was Jari came in and sort of rattled Murray, that he had somebody that could take his spot, and he didn't seem to handle it well. However, when you look at what Matt Murray did to win cups and what he was at that point, if Ottawa can do what they have done with some goaltenders like Marcus Hogberg. Marcus Hogberg was never thought of to get to be as good as he is right now. He's pretty darn good already. I don't know if he's a true number one yet. We'll see. But they did a good job with him for sure. And if they can get Matt Murray to that level, and you take into account the defense he's been working with before, it could turn out to be a very good deal. What I will say about it is, it shows a team that isn't afraid to take risks to get high risk, high reward. It's a medium risk, high reward. Let's put it that way. Medium risk, high reward. I wouldn't say it's a high risk. Medium risk, high, very, very high reward. Because if Matt Murray gets back to where he was, they got an amazing goaltender at a not bad deal, but it was risky. I will say that.
And then the last two moves, they picked up Erica Branson from the Anaheim Ducks for a 5th-round pick. And then they also picked up Austin Watson as well from the Nashville Predators. What do you think Erica Branson will do to that defensive core? And Austin Watson, what will he do for the depth for the offensive core for the Ottawa Senators?
Well, Austin Watson can play in a 3rd-line role, probably better suited for a 4th-line role. But these are two guys that just bring the pain, really. Austin Watson doesn't play bad defensively. He can pot a couple. I don't mind him, 6'4". like he's a good guy to have on your team. Nothing wrong with that. I think it was a nice pickup, especially with the young players that they have, to have somebody there that's going to keep people in line. Going when if they try to do anything with guys like Stutzla and Dodonov and stuff like that, makes it so Kachuk doesn't have to maybe focus on that quite as much. Although I don't think you'll ever be able to stop Chuck from doing that, anyways. But maybe it can like free him up to play a little more of an offensive role.
Mm-hmm.
He brings pain, and for a guy like Murray, you're going to need somebody there in front of the net to do that sort of thing for Matt Murray to make him feel confident that the people have his back. And I think that's really what it is. Because Eric Branson, I'm pretty sure his fancy stats don't jump off the board for you. He's not bad at getting the puck off people's sticks. He can hurt you when he's in the defensive zone, but you really need to have somebody there to get the puck out of the zone. Branson isn't a guy that's going to be able to give that one pass out of the zone all the time for sure by any stretch. He's an off the boards, give it back to the other team at the neutral zone and then try to hurt him when they come back guy. He's not my favorite player in the world, but I get it.
And then we'll get on to the free agents moves that the Ottawa Senators made. They made a couple. Evgeny Dadonov was the big one, the big surprise. 3 years at $5 million. What do you think? What was the thinking from Pierre Dorion bringing in Dadonov?
My thinking is that they didn't have anybody to play with Kachuk yet, unless Tim Stutzla going to play the wing over there or something of that. Like Connor Brown just isn't a guy you want up there. And so they needed somebody to play in that offensive role. They don't have any. They might have some people in a while, and there might be some like Batherson. I kind of forgot about Batherson. Batherson, I think, might be able to play up there eventually. He's got a lot of offensive upside. But until that happens, Dodonov can play in the second line as well, and Connor Brown can play down. There's a lot of, they just didn't have anybody there, and he gives them somebody there. And the Dodonov took the money, obviously, and I don't blame him for that. Nobody was going to offer Dodonov that kind of a contract besides Ottawa. He would have to go to teams that had a lot of cap space. So, yeah, it's a good deal. It's nothing wrong with it. He showed he can play top line minutes with top line players. So, good for them. Nice pickup.
And then they also got Alex Galchenyuk at $1 million. And then they re-signed Chris Tierney to 3.5 and Connor Brown to 3.6. What do you think of those moves, especially Alex Galchenyuk? Will he kind of like revitalize his career and maybe go back to what he used to be at the start of his career for the Montreal Canadiens? Will he get back up to those 50 points there in Ottawa?
I honestly have no idea. What's the coach that came over from Toronto for Ottawa? Do you remember off the top of your head?
The DJ Smith guy.
DJ Smith. Yeah. DJ Smith has his work cut out for a guy like Galchenyuk right there. Now, I like what DJ Smith has done in Ottawa. Nobody can say that Ottawa didn't play hard for DJ Smith. He did. So it's possible that they're able to get what they can for $1 million. If he doesn't pan out, he doesn't pan out. They're not really looking to beat the world this year, although their owner seems to think they're Stanley Cup contenders this year, which was funny as all heck. They're not. It's worth a shot, and it fills in a spot on the roster that only can. The only thing that can happen is it doesn't work out for $1 million. If he happens to catch lightning in a bottle and DJ Smith finds the combination for Galchenyuk, it works out fantastic, and could work out super fantastic. So it's a low risk, very high reward.
Very high reward. And this could be a guy that could play up in that top six and stuff, like a guy like a Sisamov or Chris Tierney, right? Like Galchenyuk is a pretty good offensive punch. So I do like the moves that the Ottawa Senators have done. So we're getting near the tail end of this, and we always do this where we grade the team. So, Perlo, give me your grade on the Ottawa Senators offseason.
Um, I'm gonna say B plus. So I'm gonna say B. I think they could have. What? I think that I just can't get the Sanderson thing out. I may look wrong in the Sanderson deal, but I know a lot of people will disagree with me. But again, you brought up the fact that the North Dakota. I'm on the fence. I'm going to say a very reserved B, but it could turn out, looking back, to be a very much an A. One thing is they didn't really have much. What could they do wrong? They could only get better. So, I'm taking that into account too.
We're saving this video officially in the logs now for a video that we'll look back on when Sanderson's absolutely lined up the league. And we'll be looking
Yeah,
back at this video where Perlo is giving them a B and it should have been an A. But
maybe.
anyways,
Yeah,
thank you for being on the show, Perlo. That was absolutely amazing. We'll have to do more videos like this as we're almost near. We're almost near the starting of the reboot of the NHL. I am so
yeah,
excited. 56 games. I don't know if it's going to be the old Canadian division. They've been having rumors that Canadian teams might be coming down to America, which I'm kind of in the fence on, but I just want to watch hockey. That's all I want to watch. And if it means, oh, this have to move down to America, I'm fine with that for a year. But thank you for being on the show, Perlo. Check all his links down in the description below. And we're going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Adios, amigos.